All right, well, we're ready to get started?
Yes.
All right, well, hello, DECA. We are the Huntleys. I'm Eric, and this is my wife, Erin. And we're going to be presenting to you today on the topic of just some mistakes and some things that young professionals are doing in the marketplace, some pitfalls that we would like for you to be conscious of and look to avoid. Let me introduce myself a little bit personally. I am the senior underwriter of Bass Underwriters. I oversee underwriting in Central Florida. I have approximately 25 young 20-year-old professionals working for me, and we oversee a book of about $45 million in insurance. And so some of the topics and some of the things that we're going to be sharing are things that I see on a daily or monthly basis or have seen over the years as I work with young professionals.
All right. And my name is Erin. I was in DECA many years ago, and I'm not going to do the math because it'll scare me, but I was in DECA many years ago in Fort Lauderdale at Western High School and graduated from there in 1998. I was the state president for Florida DECA back then as well. I've worked with DECA's international office in my young career as a young professional and a lot with the collegiate programs and the international officer teams. So I have a lot of background in DECA. From there, I moved on to a corporate training type role at JetBlue Airways, and now I'm currently working for the Walt Disney Company, where I support a lot of the recognition and cast activities that we do for the whole Walt Disney Company worldwide. So Eric and I have a good range of experience and just wanted to quickly touch on this topic of things to avoid as a young professional. And I wanted to let you know that it was hard for me to even type this description of our session in because I never usually want to do sessions that have a negative a title or connotation. But I was thinking about it a lot, and I think one of the items that gets missed a lot in just business and marketing and leadership education is things to avoid. DECA does such a wonderful job of setting you all up for success in careers and giving you skills for how to be good at networking or how to be a good leader or how to be a good manager or time management, anything like that. They give a lot of great tips. But unfortunately, what I've seen, even with folks that have been in DECA that I have worked with me or I've seen them in their jobs wherever they end up, just some of the little things that get missed because they just seem to be a little more obscure. And I feel like these areas are places where if you can avoid these, you can use all of the positives that DECA has given you and excel even further. So that's why we want to help you avoid some of these areas that Erica and I have seen. There's obviously more, and we'd love to leave some time at the end for questions, but there are 5 topics that we did want to touch on today. And the first one is for Eric, so he's going to explain.
Yeah, so the first one, if you're taking notes, the first one is the use of technology. Technology has come so far, and the advancement is so great as a communication tool, as a networking tool, as a connection point. Technology has really come far. But at the same time, technology cannot replace the interpersonal communication skills that you develop here at DECA. It can't replace the communication, the one-on-one conversation, or the one-on-one relationship building that takes place within this type of face-to-face meeting. So many times young professionals like technology, but they use it because it's intimidating sometimes to have face-to-face conversation, or it's scary to have face-to-face conversation, or I'm afraid of what it'll look like, or this or that. But those fears, I want to encourage you to just to conquer those fears and to get used to and not worry about exercising the muscle of face-to-face communication. And this is why so many times young professionals, they come into my office once something has become a problem. And Eric, I have a problem. Okay, what happened? Well, and the conversation most definitely starts out with, I've been emailing back and forth. And I'll look at them, I'll say, okay, pause. Have you called them? And the answer is no. And the reason the answer is no is because either the conversation through email has gone so far that now it's really scary or a large mountain to climb, and they don't have or they haven't developed those skills for how to have that conversation. But really, if they would have made a call first or they had a conversation first, I think all of us can think of an example within our own friendships and our own friend circles in which we've been texting and something was misconstrued because it's so hard to convey emotion or feelings or state of, just or expression through texting, let alone email or direct messaging within a company. And so much more can be accomplished by making a call. The second thing so first off, it's being able to utilizing technology wrongly or utilizing technology to convey something that needs to be more personal. The second thing is utilizing technology for something that might be perceived as confrontation. Many times you'll utilize technology to avoid a confrontation, but sometimes there is no confrontation, it's a perceived confrontation. And I would much rather have someone call me and talk to me about a situation in which I am then able to express to them my concerns and my cares. And after that conversation, so much more is done and so much more is accomplished. So technology is good, but the first pitfall to avoid is utilizing technology as your sole source of communication as a young person or as a young professional, I should say. Picking up the phone and developing those communication skills is key to success as a professional.
Right. And you can even get creative in COVID times and call people or do a Zoom or Skype meeting when face-to-face isn't possible. So I know, Eric, you've had a couple different situations that have happened since you've been managing a lot of young professionals. And what are some things that you would say to never email about? It's almost like, you can't break up with someone over text. So you probably shouldn't email like a resignation before talking with your leader or.
Right. I wouldn't email a resignation before talking to someone. I wouldn't email a concern. If someone did something to hurt your feelings or someone did something that you feel needs to be addressed, sometimes having that conversation over email does not solve it, but rather makes it worse. In business, many times when you're dealing with inter-client personal communications, if you know that something is going out, a phone call letting that person know that this is going out and it may cause you concern, right? But you're able to then empathize with them before whatever that is that goes out. They're still going to get the email. They're still going to get the communication. They're going to get the letter. They're going to get the notice, whatever that is. They're going to get the memo. But you having a preemptive one-on-one phone conversation with them allows them the professional courtesy to know what's coming ahead of time. And sometimes that's all it is. It's just communicating and showing a little bit of empathy towards that person before that memo is received. That goes a long, long way, rather than just a text or an email saying, hey, you're going to get this. That just doesn't go and isn't received as well as you may perceive.
Great. All right. So the next one that we have is a second mistake that we see a lot, and I wouldn't even put this in the bucket of young professionals. I would put it in the bucket of all professionals probably do this, including myself. So this is a lesson to myself, is making excuses for a mistake, something you forgot to do, an oversight, something you meant to do but you forgot. I mean, there's a million different scenarios here, but one of the um, hardest things to do is to own mistakes, whether you meant to do it or not, and taking responsibility, and then showing the people, whether they're partners you're working with or your own team or your leader, however that may be, showing them that you've learned from that, if you were supposed to do something by a strict deadline and you missed the deadline and didn't even dawn on you until a couple days later, instead of making excuses, just showing your leader next time that, you've put it in your calendar to make that happen next time, showing the steps of how you're going to make sure that that doesn't happen again, instead of making excuses. I personally, when I lead teams or any groups of people, I'd rather just hear silence than an excuse. Now, I'm not saying that, there's never a time for an excuse. Obviously, there's times where there's emergency situations or anything like that, for sure. But in your personal failures is not a time to just make excuses for yourself. You may think in the moment that it gives you just a hall pass on that, but really what it does is it just kind of moves you down a notch in responsibility that you're going to have to literally pick yourself up out of if you're expecting to move forward with whoever that mistake was made with. All right, so the next one we have is Eric's going to talk about
just missed opportunities. I think that missed opportunities within corporate offerings, or making yourself always available within the working hours to those who are your employers. And this kind of stems from a personal experience with myself and the way I was as a young professional, and then what I see trending with more and more young professionals nowadays. And so let me start with my story, and then I'll fold it real quickly into what I'm seeing today. My story came from being in a large insurance firm, and the owner of the firm and the senior underwriter would walk through on occasions and say, "Who would like to go to lunch?" Immediately, um, I would stand up and I would say, "I'm going." And every time that he would walk through and say who is going to lunch or who is doing this, I would say I'm there. Now, it wasn't that I was shredding my responsibilities or neglecting my responsibilities, but what I was doing was I was also seizing the opportunity of spending one-on-one or rubbing shoulders with or having a meal with the owner of our company. Now, this grew into opportunities that he would come through, and a friendship began to grow out of that, to the point when it went from lunches to who's golfing and who's doing this and who's going on that trip. Eric, you always seem willing. Well, this willingness to do the small things grew into the opportunities to do bigger things, and the opportunities to advance my career faster through the willingness to do the small things. Now, fast forward to today. As a matter of fact, today is a perfect example. We were celebrating a success of one of the young professionals. He actually was a DECA student. He went to Taravella, and he works for me, and he's worked for me for 2 years, and we were celebrating a success of his. He had done almost $100,000 in business, and that was a goal for him that we had set. And so I was taking him out to lunch, and I offered it to anyone else who would like to join us for lunch. That happened literally 4 or 5 hours ago. Do you want to know how many other young professionals within my company joined us for lunch? The answer is zero. Zero joined us for lunch. I got excuses and I got reasons of I need to do this or I need to do that or this or that. But the reality is all of them missed an opportunity to A, have a free lunch, but B, to spend time as we talked. So me and that young man, we were able to spend some one-on-one time together over lunch and talk about his career and his future. We talked about goals, and he was able to really begin to dig in and to ask me questions on what he needs to do to develop. But everyone else missed an opportunity today. That literally happened today. And that's what happens on a regular basis. Who would like to do this? Who is available for that? And it's not taking time away from their personal life, but what it is doing is they feel that they're missing an opportunity. Them going to Target and buying, socks is more important than having lunch with their boss. And you might think that's silly or laugh at that, but it happens so often that it actually happened today. So I don't want you to get so caught up in all of your errands and your runnings around and that you miss opportunities as a young professional to glean wisdom off of those who are employing you.
Yeah, I think Jamie had a question here. How does that play into office politics and sucking up to the boss? Well, I think that, there's office politics wherever you go, but I think we're taking a step back to something bigger. And, a lot of opportunities come up at Disney and large companies, as well as Eric's company, which is a smaller company. There's people I hear all the time that say, "Oh, I'll meet with you once a month and we'll talk about like Bob Iger's book." And, same sort of thing. It'll only be a handful of people that take up that opportunity. So there's a lot of opportunities to, when you get into an office situation, or even if you start your own business. But what we're saying here is if someone offers to do something for you, don't just pass up on that. See if it can help you in your career and in your interpersonal relationships.
Right. And sucking up to the boss, it depends on what direction the offer is coming from. In my scenario, in my personal story and in the story today, it was the boss. It was the executive within the firm, within the company. It was the person, the employer, if you will, who was making the offer that all it needed to be done was accepted by those underneath him. They were offering me nothing. They were offering me no value. I was offering them all of the value, and it was their opportunity to take it. Sometimes sucking up or office politics is when you go out of your way to try to do something for the boss, like you're able to bring value to the table beyond just the firm. That can get translated and get caught up into politics and that sucking up, if you will. But in these scenarios, it's opportunities that your firm or that your company brings to you that all you have to do is say yes to. It's not hard. You just have to put some of your things on the side burner so that you can put your career on the front burner. And it's easy things to say yes to. So look for opportunities. If we're going to say it in a positive, right?
Right.
Look for opportunities to say yes where you can spend one-on-one or small group time with those who have the position you want one day.
All right. And I see a couple of questions in the chat, and we'll address those as we get closer to the end because we don't want to miss the last two steps. The last, number 4, is the mistake that we see a lot is not growing from criticism and not taking criticism personal. There are, there's a lot of cutthroat places, and I've worked in a few, and for a long time, I would take things personal, whether it be my leader or someone I worked with or even a peer that would say something. But using these opportunities to grow and look inside yourself and say, and a lot of them over the years, I've tried to work on, and some things I get better at. Other things, I'm still working on. If I still to this day, if I get an email where someone calls me out saying, well, you guys did not address this, I just quick hurry try to type a response. And have you ever been on email or a text where you're trying to respond and then you delete it all, and then you try to respond and then you delete it all, and you try to respond? That to me is a telltale sign that I'm getting on the defensive and looking out for me instead of the bigger picture of this. What are we trying to hit here? What is going to move the whole group forward? So instead of taking things personal, like, wow, you all missed this, or you all didn't loop in this team, or there's 1,000 different things. Instead of taking it as, oh, they're calling me out, it's, oh, some people are generally trying to help. And I think you can also reverse this one. You don't want to be seen as someone who nitpicks anyone, but if you're in a true team environment where you have trust within your team, and there's a lot of leadership books that talk about that, you're able to work on your team and say, I think we're missing this, or calling someone on your team and saying, I think you're missing this. It takes a lot of trust to get to that point. But until you have that trust, if someone criticizes you, don't take it personal. Take it as an opportunity of how to grow, and, write it down. A lot of times you just take negative and you're like, I don't want the negative here. Write it down. What is something I could have done better? I could have prioritized better. I could have asked for help. There's a million different things that you can improve on. So take that as a step forward instead of a step back.
Yeah, just one thing, I use an analogy with my office, and I say that we're in the process of making diamonds, and diamonds are actually start as lumps of coal, and two things is placed on this lump of coal: heat and pressure, right? And immense heat and immense pressure. And sometimes your boss is going to put you on immense heat and immense pressure. And you can take it personal, or you can see it for what it is and realize he's making me into a diamond. Do you want to be a diamond, or do you want to be a lump of coal? A lump of coal stays a lump of coal because he's never put under heat and never put under pressure. But if you want to be a diamond, then you got to go through the heat and you got to go through the pressure.
Right, which is, it's just a super parallel to DECA.
Yeah.
Gabby would be so proud with the DECA diamond. So take that little bit of wisdom from Eric. And we have one more area of things to avoid as a young professional.
Yeah, I think the last thing, and we're just going to we're gonna do this quickly, and then we'll get to your questions. But it is, don't confuse meeting expectations with exceeding expectations, right? And that sounds weird. Okay, well, how could I confuse those two things? Well, sometimes we meet expectations, but as a professional, right, we put together job descriptions, and this is the pay for this job description. So you're like, that's great. I did everything in my job description. How come I didn't get a raise? Or how come I didn't get a bonus? Or how come I didn't get recognized? Well, you didn't get recognized because you did exactly what you were expected to do. Your company has already set a value for those expectations, and it is your base salary. So why would you expect a bonus if you didn't exceed what was expected? You must work hard to exceed expectations. So your job descriptions, your duties, your responsibilities, that is the baseline of your responsibilities as a young professional. If you want to advance, or to make yourself set apart, or to excel beyond your peers, you got to exceed expectation. And so when you're working and you're exceeding expectation, your boss will notice, others will notice, and then the rewards will come from exceeding expectations. But if you look around and you're disappointed because you're kind of where you are, and you say, well, I did everything they asked me to do, then they also gave you everything that your contract committed, that they committed to give you. You checked all the boxes, and so did they. Exceeding expectations is where a young professional sets themselves apart.
Right. And I'll give just a quick example of something that I've seen recently. I think, it's no secret that Disney has, with the COVID times that we're in, has had some, really hard times. And there's a lot of workers that are furloughed and all of that. And there's a young lady who I know who works at Disney who was furloughed, which means that you still technically work for Disney, but your job is temporarily paused. So you're not receiving any income, you're not working, but your job, isn't gone at the time being. So this young lady was put on furlough, and instead of just sitting at home and watching Netflix or whatever, she saw a need in our community and started something which has been covered on even national news. Is called the Cast Member Pantry, and collected food from individuals as well as companies in order to provide meals for our fellow cast members who are also on furlough. And so she took that opportunity of not having, work to do to really just go above and beyond. And it's been such a successful program. She's actually back at work now, but it's been so successful, and it's really inspiring because, we all went through COVID, and some of us are still living through a lot of um, just circumstances due to the pandemic. And it's just really inspiring to see someone exceed all expectations, even though she wasn't working. So just take that as a little bit of inspiration of the value of time and what you can do with that given a situation. So I see a couple questions in here. So I see, let's see, this is Lucas. Okay. And he said, I think it's wrong for a boss to favor a friend over a hard worker for promotion of things. And, that's office politics. That does happen sometimes. And, in great companies and in other companies, it does happen. So the best, what I tell our kids all the time, as well as students and young professionals that I work with, is the best thing you can do, and the only thing really you can do, is you control you. You control how hard you work. You control your response. You control things that are going on. And if things get really bad, moving on to a new opportunity. So I would just encourage, if anyone gets in that sort of situation, just know that you can control you and your response, and that's sometimes some of the only things that can happen.
Yeah, and let me tell you this, right? So when I'm talking about spending time with your boss or seizing those opportunities, right? Don't confuse that with friendship, right? Confuse that. Don't confuse the relationship between a boss and his employees, right? Necessarily as friendship to where on the weekend we're hanging out. But this is what you also need to take into account, right? Today, for example, I left the house at 7:30 and I returned to the house at 5:30. So, including this call, I've spent a total of an hour with my wife. I've spent 9 hours with the people at my office, right? On a daily basis, my kids go to school or whatever. I spend about 65 awake hours a week with the people in my office, and I spend, not including the weekend, a whopping 6 hours with my family. So the relationship and having good family life balance, so you're maximizing the time, but Monday through Friday, you do spend a lot of time with those in your office, with your boss and with your other peers and other professionals. So you want to have a good relationship. Some of the best office, we call them office friendships. Some of my best office friendships are, guys, Monday through Friday, we have a good time. We go to lunch together a lot. We don't necessarily see each other on the weekends, but when it comes time to work, it's very professional and very friendly.
Except for when Eric has ride the bike around his office. I was there Wednesday when he did that.
Yeah, I did
So
that once.
Eric's office is kind of like a Google office. They play darts, they do all different sorts of fun activities. So that's really great. So Bryce, I saw your question there about, is it more about a relationship with your boss or your thirst for success or being willing to put in the extra effort? You know,
Yes.
I think it's all, and a good leader can always sniff out those who are insincere in their motives. It's, you know, to me, it's always very clear. So, but like Eric said, you want a good relationship because you're spending a lot of time with these people, and that's the kind thing to do and respectful thing to do, but also because you're a team and everyone's trying to achieve the same goal. So
yeah, and even in my career, I had a vice president at one time. I sat down with him. I was 28 years old. I sat down with him and I said, "Hey, would you mentor me? Because one day I would like to have your job, and I would like to be working, where you're at and be as successful as you are. Will you mentor me and teach me?" And he goes, "Eric, I've already given you everything you need. You just need to go make a lot of money." That was his mentorship. That was the extent of it. You'll have some bosses that don't want it, and that's okay. You'll exceed their expectations, and then you'll have other bosses that are a little bit more like myself, where it's work is family, and we care about each other, and we move forward, and we also make a lot of money. There's two types of environments.
Mm-hmm. Great. Are there any other questions anyone wants to put in the chat? I don't think so. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun talking with you all. I wish we could be in person. You know, Eric and I have so much fun at ELS with all of you, doing lots of fun games and everything. But we really want to thank Dr. Levenhagen and Mr. Benedict and the officers for putting this together. It's really a super success and a great resource for all of our members and advisors. And we're super thankful that they put the effort in to do that. So any other closing thoughts?
Just closing thoughts are, if there's anything that came up that you would like to maybe chat on offline, you're more than welcome to look me up on LinkedIn, Eric Huntley, Bass Underwriters Inc., Orlando. And you can chat me up or direct message me there, and we can continue the conversation.
And I'm also on LinkedIn as Erin Huntley, and I have a Disney picture on there, so you'll see me with my name tag. So you can find me there, and we can connect there, and always willing to help if you have any DECA questions or leadership or career questions as you're exploring where your next steps may be, college and beyond. So keep up all of your success this year. Keep learning, take opportunities, even if they're outside your comfort zone, and make the most of everything that is presented to you in DECA and beyond. And we can't wait to see all the success that you will each be. So go make us proud.
You'll do great. Become diamonds.